Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast, where we focus on owning your career journey and making impact through the work that you do. Whether you're looking to pivot, transition into leadership, or reimagine your career completely, this podcast is for you. We'll unpack career development strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset shifts needed to thrive in your career. Being a career changemaker means taking control and shaping your professional path with intention. I'm your host, lawyer turned career and leadership development specialist, Janine Esbrand. So if you're ready for candid conversations that are going to help you grow, keep listening. Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm excited because it is the first full working week of January and I am looking forward to getting going again. I spent the last week in reflection mode, really thinking back over last year and thinking about the wins, the highs, also the lows, the learnings. And what I realized is that 2026 is a milestone year because it marks 10 years since I started building my coaching business and also 10 years since I made my first and biggest career pivot to date. It all started when I was on maternity leave with my first baby. I was a corporate lawyer at the time, working in private practice, working on big multi-million pound transactions, mergers and acquisitions, doing private equity work. And I was in my element as a junior lawyer, really learning and growing from the partners that I was working with. So my plan was to go off, have my baby, come back, get a nanny, get the support that I needed, and then continue to work hard so I could climb the ranks as a lawyer. I was a junior lawyer at the time. I'd been practicing for about 3 years. And my plan was to go off, have my baby, come back after a year of being on maternity leave, and then keep my head down and work hard and ultimately eventually become partner in a law firm. That was the plan. And the plan was the plan until it was no longer the plan because I had my baby. And once I had him, everything shifted. The way that I was thinking about my time, about my energy, about what success really meant changed once I birthed this human. There was something amazing about having this little precious bundle of joy in my arms and feeling like my heart was operating outside of my body and was just so in love with this little being. And it made me want to rethink how much time I wanted to spend with him, how much time I wanted to spend at work. And I decided to make the move away from working as a corporate lawyer because the hours were relentless. It was long hours, it was intense. And I knew that my desire to spend more time in the week with him than not with him once I returned to work would not be possible for me working as a corporate lawyer. So I decided to leave and an opportunity came up to work in-house for one of our clients. And that felt like a safe transition. So going from working as a lawyer in private practice to going to working for a lawyer in-house, it didn't feel like a huge jump. I didn't know that that was definitely where I wanted to end up. But what I did know was what I didn't want. I knew that I didn't want to be working the long hours. I knew that I didn't want to feel like I was missing out on his major milestones to start off with. So I didn't have it all figured out. I didn't really know what the plan was going to be going forward fully, but I didn't have a sense of what I didn't want. And so I acted based on that. I acted based on, okay, I know I don't want to work the long hours. What are some of the options that I can consider? And then this opportunity came up. And so I went for it. And let me tell you, there was a lot of fear at the time because this is me walking away from the career that I had worked so hard to build. To qualify as a lawyer wasn't easy for me. I had to do a lot of figuring out. I had to strategize. I had no one in my family that were lawyers. I was very much coming at the profession cold, not knowing what I needed to do. And I had figured it out. I'd worked really hard to get here. So to get to the point where I'm now saying I might walk away from the career path that was my default path, the career path that made the most sense, felt scary to me. There was the fear of the unknown. There was the fear of judgment. What would people think of me? What would people say? There was fear of failure. What if I don't succeed operating in this new way? All of that fear was coming up for me. And understandably so, right? Because I had a plan before and I was executing on that plan. And now all of a sudden I am doing something different. I am approaching things differently. So it wasn't easy to make that decision to step away from the path that I'd been on, but I had to weigh it up. I had to weigh up whether I was going to lean into the fear and I was going to allow the fear to keep me where I was, or I was going to prioritize what I was now motivated by, which was having the ability and the autonomy to spend more time with my son. So I wasn't fearless in making the transition, but my desire for balance and presence was stronger than my fear. And when I think about that first transition, that first pivot point in my career, I didn't really know how it was all going to plan out. And the clarity around where I was going to end up, that came after I took action. So I didn't have a clear 3 year, 5 year, 10 year plan at that point. I was anchored in my decision based on the circumstances and what I wanted life to look like in the round. So rather than just focusing on my career, which is what I had done up to that point, I started to focus on what do I want life to look like? And then how does my life fit in to my career and what steps can I take now that will help me to move towards the lifestyle that I want to have. And when I work with clients, I see often people kind of spinning and going round and round in circles and finding themselves at the same place because they are trying to think through all of the steps and think through everything that is going to happen if they take a certain action. And the reality is you can't always figure everything out up front. So you have to be able to identify what are the key metrics that I am going to be assessing against? What are the key things that are important? And how can I lean into that? Right. Clients stay stuck not because they don't have lots of different options, it's because they haven't slowed down enough to get clear on which option makes the most sense now. And they haven't been able to identify what are the key elements that are feeding into my decision making. And sometimes you can be like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And the question that we need to really look at is what do you need to be sure? What decision needs to be made first, right? What needs to be made first? What needs to be made second? Because sometimes we're trying to make all the decisions too soon. And that means that we can't move. So when I look at my career and how it has moved and evolved over the last 10 years, it wasn't a single role. It wasn't a single role for me. It wasn't just about moving from one role to another. Over time, a portfolio career developed for me. So I went from working as a corporate lawyer in private practice to then transitioning into working as in-house counsel. And alongside that, building a coaching practice, building a speaking business, building a consulting practice. And that all came because I was leaning into what my strengths were and the impact that I wanted to make. And over time, I realized that having a portfolio career fit really well for me because I was able to lean into the intellectual challenge that you get as being a lawyer, but also I was able to play to my strengths and really focus on my passions when it came to coaching and supporting people with their professional development. So taking the approach where I was really looking at not only what role do I want to have, but what impact do I want to have? That is what helps me to shape a career that has been really, really fulfilling over the last 10 years. Being able to work with organizations and provide legal advice and get into the weeds of risk analysis and risk management on the one hand, but then also be able to sit in a coaching session and hold space for someone to be able to really dig into what is going on for them beneath the surface and what is important to them and help them to draw out the key mindsets they need to shift and the key beliefs they need to shift so that they can take action. And then seeing the transformation that happens as a result of that, just it's just like chef's kiss amazing to me. I absolutely love it. And speaking on a stage and standing up in front of a group of people and being able to deliver a message that will shift a perspective, that will shift the way that people are turning up and showing up in their lives. Again, amazing. The work I've been able to do has fit the energy that I have, the season of life that I'm in, And as I've been reflecting on the journey, what I realize is that everything doesn't have to be rigid. You don't have to just say, I've made a decision way back when to be on this path in this way, so I'm going to stay on this path. You can be flexible to the shifts and changes that need to be made because of your lifestyle evolving and you growing and you being in different seasons, but also your desires and your interests adapting and changing. So often you can be in a place where you feel like on paper, what I'm doing is fantastic, but I am fed up. I am bored. I don't even want to be doing this anymore, or I'm frustrated. Lean into those feelings, lean into why it is you're feeling the way that you're feeling, because you're not alone. You're not the only person. And when you're starting to feel like this isn't right for you and I'm not sure that I want to be here, know that you don't necessarily have to throw everything out the window and do something completely different. When I made my first pivot, and I've made a number of pivots in my career, the first pivot that I made in my career, it wasn't a major shift. I didn't do a leap from being a lawyer into being a coach. I made the transition into being an in-house lawyer. That made sense at the time, and I enjoyed practicing as a lawyer, but I was really interested in coaching. So I did my coaching certification on the side. I started coaching people on the side. I started building my business slowly but surely on the side. I started understanding what was required of me. I took the time to build and to learn and to grow whilst I was still working as a lawyer. And I had a portfolio career where I was balancing both for 5 years, where I was doing both. In that time, I was able to really look at what my skill set was and what I wanted to lead into. When I went full time in my business in 2021, that's when I started adding in speaking and started adding in consulting because I had space and capacity for that. But also, I realized from the work that I'd been doing with people that I had a skill set that I wanted to really lean into. I think so often when people are thinking about making career transitions, the reason why it feels risky is because you're trying to strategize and think about moving into an area that you've never moved into before, that you don't fully have knowledge of. So the best way to de-risk any move or any transition is to do some testing. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow and move into something else and feel like you're taking this massive risk that's going to impact you and your family. You can start to explore and you can start to test on the side. There's ways that you can test out your ideas, that you can get exposure, you can get experience. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, actually, I do want to make a pivot and I do want to make a transition. If you're listening to this and you are at a crossroads in your career, life has shifted, things have changed, you're feeling differently about the work that you do, and you're trying to figure out what that next move looks like, this is exactly the type of work that I do in one-to-one coaching. So if you want support to gain clarity on how you can design a career that fits around your life, and is not just about looking good on paper, then reach out, click the link in the show notes, book a career clarity call with me, and we can discuss and explore what it would look like to work together. Stepping off of the default career track that I was on wasn't easy, but it was the best decision. When I think about all that I've been exposed to over the last 10 years in running my business on a part-time basis, on a full-time basis, I have met people, I have learned things, I have grown in ways I never would have had I not made that initial pivot. I'm so grateful for the younger version of me for not waiting till I had it all figured out, but instead making the decision that was based on what I wanted to create in terms of my lifestyle, and recognizing that work and life have to fit together. It's not work and life separately. And in doing that, I've been able to build something that has given me the opportunity to spend time with my children in the way that I wanted to. It's given me the opportunity to learn new things, to meet new people, to travel to different places, and just been exposed to so much that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to had I stayed on the track that seemed like made the most sense on paper, but actually didn't make the most sense in real life. So that's all I have for you today. If this is hitting a nerve, if this is resonating with you and you know that 2026 is the year that you want to make some shifts and changes in your career and you want some help with figuring out how you make this work for you, then let's have a conversation. I would love to support you. The link to book a call with me is in the show notes. Until next time, please look after yourself and keep moving towards your career goals. Share this episode with a friend. Sharing is caring, and it's awesome to have more people find and listen to the show so we can support more people to build out intentional career journeys in 2026. Until next time, bye.